Big 12 Radio. It's Big 12 Today. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios with James Westling on social at James Westling. I am Ari Temkin on social at Ari Sports. It is the march to the Big 12 Championship, James. We are closing in now. Next week will be a month away from the Big 12 title. We've got a majority of teams in the Big 12 with 4 games left, a few with 5. So we're getting closer and closer. A reminder to check out tickets availability for the Big 12 Championship. John Pardee will be performing. It's an incredible experience to watch the halftime show, not just because of the musical artist, but because of the combination of the music with the school bands playing and performing. It's really cool choreography. It was amazing to watch last year in person, and can't wait to see it again this year. So be a part of the great action as the Big 12 Championship comes into full picture here. You can watch us on Big 12 Studios. We're streaming live now on YouTube, as well as plenty of other places. Tubi, Roku, Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV Stream, Samsung TV Plus. You can find all the platforms in which you could stream Big 12 Studios by searching big12studios.com. Okay. We preview games, of course, getting you ready for the games this weekend, Week 10. And tomorrow we'll dive into the biggest games of the weekend, including, but not limited to, Cincinnati, Utah, as part of ESPN's College Game Day experience, Texas Tech and Kansas State, as well as Arizona State, Iowa State, which is kind of a fringe big game in the Big 12 next week. That was certainly the game we expected preseason to be the biggest game this weekend, but it's kind of a third string maybe even lower than that. But a couple of games this weekend with, not exactly the biggest picture implications, but certainly important games nonetheless, especially when it comes to successful seasons in the eyes of these teams, would be first UCF at Baylor. UCF's in an interesting spot. They've got 5 games left, and they've almost become like a forgotten team in the Big 12 because they've been on the bye week. Mm-hmm. They've kind of been up and down this year, had some really good games and then some really bad ones. Taven Jackson will be back healthy and starting in this game. Cam Fancher finds himself on the injury report. He's out for this game. Also, UCF will be without Sincere Edwards, who underwent Liz Frank surgery and will be out for the year. He's the edge rusher that's been very successful for them. So, when you look at UCF, they've been really good running the football. They've been, had some big-time plays on offense, and then they've been really explosive and good on defense. They've been kind of a high-risk, high-reward type defense. I wonder how much that changes with Sincere Edwards out now because he was a valuable edge rusher for them.
This is a really intriguing matchup, and you're right about UCF. The fact that their last game, they beat West Virginia by more than 30, I think says a lot about where they are as a program. Because coming into this season with first-year head coaches, the return to their previous stops with Scott Frost at UCF and Rich Rod going back to West Virginia, I think we thought coming into the season that those two programs would be on pretty even footing, pretty even ground. And that game said a lot about just how far ahead UCF is. They still think they can make a bowl game. They're 4-3 overall.
Yeah, they've got 5 left.
And you look at their losses, they lost to Cincinnati on the road by 9. They lost at home to Kansas by a touchdown, 1-score game. And before that, they ran into a buzzsaw in Kansas State, who was angry, and they lost 34-20, a game in which Taven Jackson gets knocked out. There's a lot of things to like about UCF. They're 6th nationally in passing defense. They've allowed the fewest explosive pass plays in the Big 12. They lead the conference. Fewest 20-plus yard passes in the Big 12. And then offensively, they control the clock. They're averaging over 200 rushing yards per game. They're 3rd in the Big 12 there. Jaden Nixon has 4 runs this season of 50 or more yards. When they get to 200 rushing yards on the ground, they're 8-1 all-time under Scott Frost. That's been their identity this season. And with Taven Jackson back and healthy at quarterback, that adds another number in the ground game. And so you've got a strength-on-strength with Baylor's passing offense against UCF's passing defense, and then Bryson Washington's going to have to be huge for Baylor. But I have a lot of questions about where they're at internally as a program when you're dismissing your offensive line coach midweek.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like UCF is trending up, Baylor's trending down. My shocking call of the week would be if Baylor loses this game, Dave Aranda's going to get fired midweek.
Midweek?
Yeah. I could see that happening. There's still the potential for Baylor to be a bowl team. Obviously, you had a loss in this game, but you lose at home to a UCF team that people expected to be at the bottom of the conference. And I think this game is a toss-up. Like I could absolutely see a path for UCF winning this game. The biggest thing is UCF has not been very good on the road this season. And really, since they've been in the Big 12, they've really struggled as a road team.
Yes.
And here's what Dave Aranda said, the Baylor head coach, about looking to finish the season strong.
No, winning. Yeah, we need to win. Yeah, very important to win. I think it's one team, one purpose right now. Yeah. I think they see that, and they see the schedule, and they know how important it is to win. And so the motivation's there. I think the execution's got to be better, but the motivation is there.
Do you agree with that? The motivation is there?
Not necessarily. I mean, they don't play like a team that seems super motivated.
Well, and
they play like a team that was supposed to be contending for a Big 12 championship and is now scraping at the bottom of the barrel to try and make a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times there's like certain words that coaches will use which describes blame to one side or the other. So you have to kind of know which of those words means what. Execution is a player's issue, right? When there's execution issues, that puts the responsibility for failures on the players. We're calling the right plays. They're highly motivated. They're just not executing. So motivations, that's the coach's job. That's what the coach will get criticized for. Oh, I'm doing a great job motivating this team. They're just not executing. Basically saying, like, yeah, the players suck.
Right. And remember last year Baylor started 2-4, and then they got hot. Well, it was that third win for them, which would have been their seventh game, when they went to Lubbock and they blasted Texas Tech 59-34. This year, we're 8 games into the season. They're 4-4, and it feels like they're going backwards. I don't know that they can do it again, turn it around. And in terms of this matchup specifically, I think a lot of this game is going to be decided by halftime. Because as we have seen, Baylor fans, they'll check out in the second half if things aren't going well. There was nobody in the crowd for the second half of the Kansas State game, even though they were still in a position to win and ultimately did come back and win the game. That was surprising to me. And then UCF, they had 8 sacks their last time out against West Virginia, second most in program history. So they are getting after opposing quarterbacks. And remember, West Virginia's not dropping back to pass a whole lot. But I think the biggest thing is going to be turnovers. Baylor in losses have struggled to take care of the football. And you mentioned UCF and how they're so much better at home. Well, they're +4 in turnover margin in Orlando, but away from home this season, they're -3. So that's a huge key. But Baylor's defense is still giving up 33 points per game with a defensive-minded staff 8 weeks into the season.
Yeah, it's pretty
There's
wild.
No excuse for that.
No, there isn't. It's not an execution thing at that point. It seems more like a motivation piece at that point. Here's what Dave Aranda said about the fans and some of this fan apathy.
We've got a bunch of really, really good people in the program that are doing everything they can to get wins, to make it an entertaining product for the fans. And it just means so much when there's fans there and there's a home field environment. And, I just look at the guys that are on our team right now that have been through so much and are just such quality people. Really good football players, but more than that, just quality people. And they're the type of people where maybe if some of the people we're talking about knew them better, would be all for them and would be supporting them no matter what. And I just think for them to have it to where their work is being rewarded with people that got their back in a critical game would be cool. But I understand what you're saying. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I think you got a coach here misreading the situation. I don't know that the fans aren't supporting the players. I think there's somebody else the fans are not wanting to support, and it might be the person talking. I think for this game, like the thing that stands out more than anything is strength on strength. This is a very good offense, a top 3 offense in the Big 12 via yardage against a top 3 defense in the Big 12 via yardage. That is what is interesting and stands out to me about this game. All right, let's quickly talk Arizona, Colorado, another game. By the way, UCF Baylor at 11 a.m. Central is a game you can catch on TuneIn as part of our games of the week this weekend. You can catch that right after Big 12 Game Day with TJ Reeves right here on Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. All right, Arizona at Colorado. Interestingly enough, James, this game was in the exact same spot last year. Week 10 of 2024, Arizona met a Colorado team that was fighting for its Big 12 championship lives, and Arizona was, I don't know, circling the drain in the toilet at this point in 2024. They're flipped. Now, Arizona's not exactly fighting for their Big 12 title lives, but fighting to get to a bowl game. They're 4-3 with 5 left to play. Colorado's 3-5. They're circling the drain, 1-4. And look, there's plenty of reason for it. I mean, there are teams that have lost far more games than Colorado has this year with far less going on from a dramatic standpoint. I mean, when your coach isn't with the program throughout the offseason because he has bladder cancer, then has his bladder removed, and then in the middle of the season has to have surgery to remove blood clots in his leg. My goodness, what drama they've been through without having to do anything to deal with football. But I digress. James, what stands out to you about this one?
Well, I think that the biggest thing, to your point, is Colorado played really inspiring football in their upset win over Iowa State. But that has now subsided, and they got punched in the mouth against Utah. Their offense has been
They were pummeled.
Yeah.
It wasn't one punch.
Right.
It was a series of punches.
They were steamrolled.
They were knocked unconscious by punches, and the punches kept getting thrown.
So how do they bounce back from that? They're at home. That's obviously a good thing. And Colorado, even with their struggles, their fans continue to show up and support this football team, which says a lot about Colorado fans. I think this is a huge game for both teams in terms of making a bowl game. And I think for Arizona, a loss would put them at 1-4 in Big 12 play. And we just talked about Dave Aranda being on the hot seat. What does that mean for Brent Brennan at Arizona? Arizona's passing defense has still been really good. They've only allowed 4 passing touchdowns, which is 4th in the country. Their pass efficiency defense is 2nd in the entire country, and they're only giving up 153 passing yards per game. So that is a strength and an edge for Arizona because Colorado has struggled to throw the football. But can Arizona offensively, Noah Fafita has been up and down. Ishmael Mahdi got off to a hot start. The rushing attack needs some more consistency. This is a total coin flip game for me. I'm not ready to say that Arizona's in a position to go on the road. They've been much better in Tucson and win a game, even though they're favored by 4.5.
Colorado's given up 5.27 yards per carry. They've had 4 games with allowing at least 200 yards rushing, including the 422 yards they gave up against Utah and a backup quarterback last week on 51 carries. We talked about the UCF Baylor game as being strength on strength in terms of the Baylor offense against the UCF defense. This is strength on a weakness. I mean, Arizona, if they get Mahdi and Risino going, forget it, because then the RPO game gets going, and Fafita's been very good, very underrated quarterback in the Big 12 this year. And I think part of maybe why his passing numbers aren't more is because of some of these losses, but Fafita, I think, has been pretty good this year. And so, again, they want to run and then use that to use the RPO game and get your linebackers guessing. The biggest thing I want to know is with Colorado, why is their defense taking such a step back this year after being so good last year? I get the offensive struggles, and certainly not having Travis Hunter is going to hurt your defense as well as your offense. But, I mean, we were praising their defense last year. The defensive coordinator it's been a 180 from what it was last year in terms of their defensive firepower. I think Arizona's got a major edge here. But to your point, it is a road game for them, Folsom Field, so maybe Colorado has a bounce-back game here. I just think it's strength on a weakness with Arizona's rush attack against Colorado's rush defense, which has been absolutely atrocious.
Well, Arizona's going to have to finish in the red zone. They're scoring at a high clip in the red zone.
But so is everybody.
Exactly. Only about half of their red zone scores have been touchdowns. So that's the path for Colorado, is that if they can limit Arizona to field goals in this game Arizona's third down conversion rate is not very good, 36.7%. And meanwhile, Colorado, that's where they have the advantage on third down. If they can control the clock and if they can move the ball through the air and keep their offense on the field, I think they win this game. But again, this is another kind of underrated matchup just in terms of a lot of strength on strength, a lot of strength on weakness on both sides, and it's a total coin flip game for me.
All right, that's James Westling. I'm Ari Tepkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo. And coming up next, there's this national narrative that's starting to build around coaches and how some programs may not fire coaches this year because there's a feeling, this national narrative that's building, that there's just not as many good coaches out there to hire. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous narrative. We'll get to that next. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo and watched on Big 12 Studios.